This is the Franchise QB Podcast, where we empower entrepreneurs to win big in franchising. We huddle up weekly to educate our audience about the most successful small business model ever created, franchising.
Welcome to the Franchise QB Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Halpern, a 20-year industry veteran and entrepreneur. My mission is for listeners to achieve their American dreams of creating wealth and independence through franchise ownership. Every week, we speak with franchisees, franchisors, or vendors that support the industry. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Joining us in the huddle today is Larry Amos, brand president and COO of Doody Calls, an Authority Brands company. Welcome to the show, Larry.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Of course, great to have you here. So back in 2016, you were the general manager of the flagship Doody Calls location in the greater DC area where I live as well. How did you find out about that specific opportunity to get into management with Doody Calls? And when did you make the switch to become, on the franchise side of the business and subsequently the brand president?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. And second of all, I have to be honest, I didn't get up one day and go, oh my God, I want to go pick up poop for the rest of my life. And yeah, we'll make money, right? In all honesty, it's the God's honest truth. But for me, I think like a lot of franchisors, franchisees, I kind of stumbled into it by accident. I was at a point professionally in corporate America, in management, of course, but in corporate America where it was like, I lacked purpose. Like, what the heck am I doing every day? I'm just doing someone else's work. They're making a lot of money. I'm just doing my thing. Very top down kind of thing. And literally just got a random call, from an individual who was helping Doody Calls find someone to come in to build out processes and get ready for more growth in the franchising space. Didn't know much about franchising outside of, Subway or Chick-fil-A, right? I just thought, okay, I'll never forget. I'm on the phone. And they kept telling me what this business model was. And I swear to you, I kept thinking, huh? What? Like, what? I honestly, and I tell franchisees this all the time, like in validation or meet the team, but it's a true story. But once I met the founders at the time, here in the DC area, I kind of forgot about the model and fell in love with just the culture and the vision and the mission of everything. Right. And then the rest was history, and I joined the organization. Yeah, everybody thought I was nuts, though. It makes good happy hour conversation, I will tell you that. I'm always the rock star. Yeah, you're always the rock star.
Everyone wants to know what you do. At the very basic level, we're going to get into the business here over the next 15, 20 minutes. But what is Doody Calls?
Yeah, so premier pet waste management. Right. So we are the individuals that provide a home service that come to your home or B2B. So we have two different types of clients. We're going to go after residential in terms of providing that home service. You may have a landscaper, you may have a housekeeper, a pool guy or gal, and you also need someone to pick up the pet waste. So we're your pet waste manager, right? On the community side, very similar, a little bit more sophisticated because there's some product involved and, you're going out to dog parks and putting in stations in the ground. But we are literally the individuals who are just managing all that waste. And there are millions and millions of tons, which is quite fascinating. And the other thing I would always say, and I say this all the time, often the misunderstanding about our business and what we do is that it's for an affluent customer. But I always go back to the fact that we are part of the home service space. We provide a service to elderly, the disabled, maybe just busy mom and dad, but we're kind of filling in that gap of the service that needs to happen. It's not always for the rich and famous behind the gates.
Right. So is it true that Doody Calls is number one in the number two business?
Yeah, I have heard that.
I'm sorry, I had to sneak
You're
that in
good.
there.
You're good. You've got a future in marketing. Look at you.
I've heard one of your franchise owners say that. I will not claim that as my own.
If you start singing, I'm going to get really nervous.
That will not be happening today. But yeah, I mean, I want to play devil's advocate here. I mean, is there a need for this service, right? I mean, you just mentioned a very interesting set of people that absolutely need the service that cannot do it on their own. So kind of speak to the need for this service.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think over time, just in the evolution of life, we've really come to realize and try to educate both franchisees and our consumers that, yes, there is a need, because there's twofold. One, it is a service, of course, for whomever who happens to have a dog. But more importantly, for a large chunk of society, it keeps waterways clean, it keeps smells down, it keeps parasites off your, parks, beaches, wherever, backyards. Nobody wants to walk through it, right? So there is an environmental element of it that we literally spend a full day in onboarding with new owners, educating them on the impact of things like parvovirus, all the stuff that nobody wants to talk about, but it's true, right? So there's absolutely a need, a bigger need than just somebody needs to come pick up the poop.
Yeah. So let's talk about the kind of move into franchising. So Authority Brands is the parent company. For those that don't know, it's a leading multi-branded home services franchisor. I know you joined in 2016. When did Authority Brands acquire the founding location and subsequently offer it as a franchise model?
Yeah, so it was late 2019 into 2020 is when we joined the team with Authority Brands. And for the first 2 years, I believe, the unit was ran as a retail unit. Kind of as a prototype, right? And then last year sold it as a franchise.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. It was big news.
And what surprised me was, how long the business had been operating prior to the acquisition. It launched in 2000, right? Like 24 years ago.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the differentiation. You guys call it the Doody difference. I know there's a lot of puns in your business. So tell me a little bit about what makes you guys kind of different in the space.
Yeah, I think a few things. I think first and foremost, just the history alone, right? When we think about just how much this business has grown, how many folks have stepped into the space, whether it's, Chuck in a truck, the mom and pops, or the major brands that are trying to get into this space as well. I think that alone is an indicator, but our history is number one. I think that's the biggest differentiator. And we're very proud to always share with individuals that throughout this 20-year run now in franchising and 25 as a brand, it has been consecutive year-over-year growth through everything. And I think that's pretty remarkable to be able to say that, right? So that's number one in our wheelhouse. But then outside of that, I think there's a few other things. We have a call center, a 7-day-a-week call center that our franchisees are able to utilize. All calls, all marketing tactics, everything goes through that one hub. So you don't have to worry about taking phone calls, whether it's leads, complaints, changes in schedules, what have you. You have that team 7 days a week, taking your calls. That's all integrated to kind of the second differentiator for us is just from a technology perspective. I mean, it is the year 2024, and we're very proud to be able to have online billing and online schedule changing for our customers. And same thing for franchisees as well. But all of that being integrated, I think is fantastic. We're able to text customers and say, Larry's on their way. Gates closed. gate doesn't open, give me a call, what have you. So I think all of those elements from a technology perspective, always trying to stay out in front of it. And then I would say the two other things I always want to mention is from a B2B perspective. We're the only brand out there that has trademark and copyrighted product. So we have our own product line, and it's all designed by us, named by us, and trademarked by us, and available to franchisees to provide, right, to consumers. And it's all day marketing every day because our name is all over everything, right down to the trash bags, the little poop bags has our name on it, which is great. And I think that's always a big, differentiator in terms of that. And
so you mentioned products. I mean, I'd imagine in this business, franchise owner carries relatively little inventory. What products do they use? Are we talking about the collection bags and things of that nature?
That's right. Yeah. Very, very little. So, you can, and that's one of the upsides, I think, to our model for a franchisee is just that entry and just the low risk in terms of you don't need a garage. You don't have to have that big office space because literally, and I always go back to my old retail days, when you think about our product line, there are 5 SKUs. There's 5 items. That's it. You have 3 different types of stations and you have 2 different types of bags. That's it. Everything else is, kind of equipment that you would use to actually perform the job, whether it's a scoop or a rake. But as far as the trademark stuff, the bags and the stations, you're talking about 5 items. So the
stations are like in a commercial application where you would collect the product and then come by and, empty it out on some type of frequency.
That's right. Yeah.
So you have that. Oh, go ahead.
No. When you picture, when you're in a dog park or what have you, you'll see those green or black stations, those bags that are hanging. That's typically us if our name's on it. But if not, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Got it. And then I would imagine that this would lend to a subscription-based revenue on both the B2B and B2C side. Is that accurate?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. It is completely reoccurring. And I think that, again, based on our retention rates, our retention rates are just fantastic, both being B2B and residential. Most clients, we always joke about this, but it's true for franchisees. Most of our clients, they don't quit because there's always a punishment if you do quit because somebody's got to do it. Sounds crazy. Somebody's got to do it. So you have to really mess it up as the franchisee, or your team has to really mess it up. Or else you'll have them for a long time, which is great from a reoccurring perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have a technology component called PoopNet. Was that what you're referencing before in terms of the ability for the franchise owner to oversee their business, for the consumer to have the app and schedule the service and make modifications? Is that kind of an all-encompassing software platform that's proprietary to you guys?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's our complete in-house built, customized CRM. That integrates with both franchisee, consumer, and then obviously the call center as well. So as calls are coming in, they're seeing everything in real time for you.
Yep. So you mentioned the call center. So obviously, like when there's a call to action, they're going to field that call. But do you guys help with client acquisition, kind of done for you marketing, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so all of our franchisees, that's a great question. And that's one of the big, I think, advantages to being part of Authority Brands, right? Because we have such amazing talent and resources available to franchisees. So, I always use the analogy that every franchisee has a menu, online menu of all kinds of different marketing tools. And it can be something as old fashioned as maybe just a door hanger or a direct mail flyer, right? To something super sophisticated, a YouTube commercial. Depends on how much money you want to spend. You can customize things online. You have your own marketing manager who works here just with us at Doody Calls and helps franchisees determine marketing strategies. How do I want to do it? Track it. What do the leads look like? And we do that every single month with our franchisees, every single month. Kind of planning out what's happening with marketing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be presumptive and assume that there's only one revenue stream. Maybe there is, but like, how does a Doody Calls franchise owner generate revenue? Is it the subscriptions as well as the kind of one-off, engagements that either a residential consumer or a business would have?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. There's multiple factors, and we're actually right now launching even additional revenue streams, just again to stay out in front of competitors and be that white glove service, if you will. But as of right now, they have their product line, so you can sell the products, even if it's a dog park, a B2B folks, a community. Every time you go to actually service something, there's the service element that you're making that reoccurring revenue on, but you also are replacing the bags, all those little handheld bags that, you and I go and grab a bunch of them when you're in a park. Those are also a revenue stream, right? So you have that element. So you have your product line, just good old fashioned service, scoop in the yard, picking up the poop. But there are other things. There are deodorizers. There are things like one-time services. Maybe it's a big, common area clean is what we call it. A big park that's going to do a big event for a concert, right? We also offer rental stations. So a lot of consumers don't know that, but very similar to, when you think about a porta potty, right? I mean,
Like an events-based situation.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, where does the dog go, right? I mean, we're all at the 4th of July party. What are you doing with the dog? We as franchisees can step in and offer rental, kind of B2B rental, and we take care of that. So there's some different elements that they can do.
That's cool. And you mentioned B2B. I'm curious about the split between the consumer side and the business side, because I can see a massive opportunity with like HOAs and property management companies, landlords, corporate accounts, that kind of thing. Is that, obviously like it's a different approach. It's more of a consultative approach than it is like, hey, let's put up an ad on Google. But what does that split look like for kind of a mature owner?
Yeah. So when you look at the sweet spot, as far as our North Star, you want to get to like a 60-40 split, where 60 is coming from that commercial side of things. To your point, it absolutely is the game changer. It just takes a lot longer to generate lead to conversion. The residential, obviously we love our residential clients, but they're much quicker to close, of course. Yeah. Lower price point.
Okay. So I know you guys at your founding location, it's a huge operation. For a new franchisee, do they need an office? And what does kind of the staff and the equipment look like to kind of get one up and running?
Yeah, no office is required. The vast majority, I think it's 92% now of our owners throughout the system, for the most part, will operate either out of their garage, the corner of their basement, the side of their house, because you don't have consumers coming. So it's not a bricks and mortar, right? And everything these days can be done on a laptop, as you well know. So outside of just storage of inventory, which we do help, when you first come on board, you may want to do a very small storage unit, right? Which, that's fine, but that would be it. I mean, it's pretty minimal in terms of the real estate. Now, over time, part of the scale plan that we work with franchisees on is you'll get to a certain point when you're scaling where we're going to step in and say, okay, you may want to think about, not having 10 to 12 employees coming to your house every day to pick up a
job. Get some kind of flex space. That's
might be a little strange. At some point, it might get a little weird for you. But no, in the beginning, and the vast majority of our owners are operators in the beginning. In the beginning, they're doing it, which of course helps with the margin and the payroll model, the whole kit and caboodle, as you can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess I was curious about the day in the life for an owner. So I guess in the beginning, if they choose to be an owner operator, which is great because they get to get in there and kind of understand the business and what it's like to interface with customers and kind of do the work. But eventually I can see this evolving in kind of a semi-absent model where, you can still manage the business, but you're like managing the manager and you can kind of grow a team similar to what you guys have achieved over a 25-year time horizon at the corporate unit. So what would be the day in the life kind of in both of those scenarios?
Yeah, I think I would say that in the beginning, in terms of the owner and operator, the upside to our model, there's a couple things that I would say for a potential franchisee that helps with the day in the life. It's highly, highly, highly flexible, because one of the things about our model is we do not commit to an appointment. Because keep in mind, it's not about the basement is flooded or the dog is sick or, my God, it's 100 degrees outside and I need air conditioning. It's not that level of home service. So we're in this space where we can be highly flexible. So what we do, we talk in preferred terms. So when a new franchisee comes on board, from technology wise, they're able on the back end to literally look at their territory. They can quad out the territory on certain areas that they're going to go to on certain days of the week, right? Then they don't have to do it that way, but it's an option in terms of flexibility. The consumer thinks, it's the north side. I go online, I'm looking to go there, and it says they're booked. Oh, crap. All right. Well, when are they available? Oh, they're available tomorrow. You're really not booked, but it's kind of working around, Yeah, I mean, it works really well. And then because there are no appointments, that allows and affords you as a franchisee, maybe you operate on Saturdays, maybe you operate on Sundays until you get it to where you want it to be. And then you kind of shift around your schedules a little bit.
So can I just jump in, Larry? So as the consumer, if I'm using the app and I'm booking the service, is it going to give me a day as opposed to like a window of a couple hours? Is that generally how that works?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Yeah,
so it's kind of, it seems like a lawn cutting service. Like if your lawn gets cut on Fridays by the company you hire, you don't really care if it's at noon or if it's at 3 or if it's 5, as long as it gets done.
That's right.
So that's kind of a similar analogy with your model.
Yeah, 1,000%. Cool. And, when you asked earlier about the additional lines of revenue, there will be times that someone wants a special event at a special time, right? Well, that's an additional line of revenue because now we're in a different quad of how much that's going to cost for the consumer, which is a good kickback for the franchisee. But ultimately, we work with preferred days, and that's it. And the only guarantee that we say, very much like a landscaper, to your point, is we educate our consumers on we'll be there during daylight hours when we can, wait for it, see the poop, because we can't see it at night. So as long as we're there, by day and morning and night, we're there.
The other thing I think that's pretty cool about this model is like, if you have a maid service that's coming inside of your home, like interior work, you really care as the homeowner who that person is. There's a little layer of trust because you're in someone's personal space. With exterior services like Doody Calls, if the job gets done, I'm happy. It doesn't matter to me if it's Jim, Fred, Susie that comes and does it. So as an operator, a franchise owner, like if you lose an employee, which happens in business, you're not gonna get a lot of pushback from your clients. They're like, well, wait a second, I like Fred to come and pick up my poop. I don't want Jim,
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. And I got to tell you, like, even when I think about the franchisees, the diversity of franchisees, you have everything from stay-at-home moms, active military, teachers, police officers, you name it. And I really think the one common thread that you'll find with all of them is, in their definition of success, is that level of flexibility. I can be home with my kids. I can put the kids on the bus, then go do the job and get back. Or I can go do my duty and then go home on my way home, go take care of cleaning the yard. Because as long as I get there during those daylight hours, I'm good.
You're good to go. Yeah, you mentioned military. I had interviewed Devin Klunder, which is one of your franchise owners, and he is a military veteran, and he spoke to that as well. He loved the flexibility and also the fact that it doesn't need to be a full-time occupation. It can be. It just depends on what the expectations are of the ownership group. So it's one where you can probably keep a W-2 and build this business until it replaces the income and then kind of jump into it, accordingly.
100%. Yeah. And he's if he listens to us, I'll give him a shout out. He's definitely a rock star at Doody Calls. He's one of our solid guys and has really built up his market and does so many innovative things, has really driven a great business there. But to your point, highly flexible. and has been able to navigate not just being active duty, but also new family and relocated to the area. I mean, he's really navigated quite a bit, which a lot of our owners have. And I'm not saying it's easy; it's still business, that. But it's like, but there's a high level of flexibility in the position.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, someone likes the model, they want to become a partner, they join. What kind of training and initial support can a Doody Calls franchise owner expect out of the gate when they launch their new business?
Yeah, right out of the gate, assigned, of course, a FBC, so they'll get a business consultant right out of the gate within probably 24 hours of signing the agreement. We're going to be in touch with them. Really, from there, it begins kind of a 30-day countdown before they get to a full week of training. Wait for it. It's called Poop School. Yes, you will hear poop quite a bit. We have tied poop or duty into every single freaking thing we say.
I got you.
It's like, oh my Lord, please don't say that word again. But they go to a week of Poop School. It's a 5-day training. And it's everything, right? It's the whole kit and caboodle, quite frankly, in terms of accounting and software and human resources, scalability, what we do every single day, down to role playing and how do you get in front of those decision makers with that, that B2B side of your business. From there, they get to opening, and then the FBC works with them and puts together another 10 weeks of weekly follow-ups to kind of just continue measuring. Primarily, we watch what that initial ramp is looking like, right, in terms of marketing tactics. And then from there, it really kind of pulls back to a monthly and then a very formal kind of update ongoing on a quarterly basis. Business planning, P&L reviews, anything and everything. And I always say, that's all the structure checklist stuff. But I'm being very honest with you. Our team, extremely accessible. We're always here. All of us are always here. Give us a call and somebody's going to answer the question for you.
Right. Yeah. And I think people going into this know that, like, on the spectrum of complexity, this is going to be a more simplistic business compared to something that's got tons of moving parts, like a restaurant with a big staff and this and that. So I think that's part of the appeal, is that it's a simple model. You know exactly what you're doing. It's all about getting the right people, marketing the business, and like just keeping your eye on the ball.
100%. And I love what you just said too, because one of the things that we often will say is it is simple, of course, but it also goes without saying. And we always say this. I know you'll probably go, well, of course, but for experts out there, they'll get this. But for anyone new, it's simple, but not easy. There's still, it's still a business. You still got to be gritty and, all that stuff. But other than that, I think overall it's a very simple model.
Yeah. And I think one of the competitive advantages is the, not only the speed to market, because like once you train, you kind of are good to go. Once you get your cars wrapped and you're in business. But like the startup cost on this thing is under 100K, like 64 to 84K. So that's leasing some vehicles. That's your initial marketing budget. That's your initial labor. If it's not you yourself doing the work, I mean, am I missing anything?
You're not missing anything. No, you got it spot on. And all of those things, including, the wraps of a truck, all of that, we have all of our resources that help with that. Doesn't mean you have to use them. May not be the, perfect fit for you. But right out of the gate, and I always say in the beginning when they first sign, that agreement, we are so passionate about hold your hand and walk you through everything. We're going to get the truck. We'll take care of the email. We're going to get your phone number. Like, we're going to help you do all of that, right? And open all of those doors, which is great.
Yeah, that's a really attractive entry point. So I know that everyone's wondering how much money can you make in the poop business. Do you have any item 19 metrics you can share with us today?
Yeah. I think the most exciting thing I always share with folks from item 19 would be, when you look at our top 25%, they're in the $1 million club, right? So you're going in north of $1 million. There's a lot of poop out there. But yeah, when you look at and honestly, I mean, everybody always says to me like, really? Wow. I would say the two things that I find very appealing when you think about the metrics. One is that top quartile being in the $1 million club, which I think, $1 million plus club, multi-million in certain locations. That's number one. And then you also think about the margins in this business. Again, it comes down to each franchisee. But when you talk globally, you're in a very nice margin space. One of the things I always tell folks about our business too is, if you're thinking about our business, is it's really a route-based business. While we talk home services, and it is, and of course, we're here to provide great services to the client. On the back end, our most successful franchisees, using software and good old-fashioned common sense, it's a route-based business, because I don't want to drive to your house and then go up the Beltway to Georgetown and then back over to Arlington.
Especially not where we live. It's
right. Yeah, no, I'm thinking like our neighborhoods, right? And I'm thinking, oh my God. But if you don't make those right decisions, or you try to, outsmart the software, because the software will optimize things, you can make really good margins, because it's about density of routes. So
yeah, you don't really have a tremendous cost of goods, and it's mostly labor, fuel, just general business expenses. So like, even with I know the $1 million club is your top performers, but even with an AUV in the 300 to 400 range, like, there's probably some good earnings in there, which is pretty cool. So what's the current system look like? We talked about the founding location. Today, how many franchise owners do you have? How many territories are operating?
Yeah, so we are currently at 70 owners. I think it's 71 after today. So you guys will be the first people to ever hear that. And 112 territories today.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, more in the pipeline before the end of the year. It's been really, really busy time.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, Larry. Anything else you want to add to the mix before we wrap up today?
No, thank you so much. I know it's never the most riveting subject to talk about, but at least we get to laugh about some poop. I think if you are interested, thank you for giving me the platform, Mike. But if you are interested in coming over and at least just talking to us a little bit about the business, we've got a very diverse leadership team mixed with current franchisees who sit now with me as FBCs, in our operations department, combined with people that have come from, different backgrounds. But if you just want to talk about the business, all the ups and the downs, give us a call. Let us know.
Awesome. Larry, I have one final parting question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have one of these?
I knew that. It's so funny. Yes, look at me looking around. Yes, of course. Yes.
So I picked one of these up at a convention in the summer, and it was a big hit with my kids. And it's just been sitting here on my desk. And now that we're talking, I'm glad it got some airtime. So
I feel so bad, because we normally, it's so funny. It's the hottest item. I tell franchisees all the time, and don't take this idea, anybody listening, take those suckers and sell them, and you'd be a multimillionaire. You don't even have to worry about picking up poop. People love those things. They love
That's
them.
awesome.
They love them. Yeah, it's great.
Very cool. Well, if anyone listening would like to connect with Larry and his team to learn more about becoming a Doody Calls franchise owner, contact me at franchiseqb.com or on X at QBFranchiseQB. I'll get you guys connected. Larry, thank you so much for taking the time to get in the huddle with us today and discuss Doody Calls.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Franchise QB podcast, where you're at the helm of your future as a franchise owner. If you enjoyed the content, please rate the show and recommend it to anyone that might be interested in franchising. Make sure to visit franchiseqb.com to subscribe to my newsletter and for an actionable playbook to go from walk-on to legend in your new business. Follow us on Twitter at QBFranchiseQB and join us every week for a new episode. See you next time.
Visit franchiseqb.com to take the next step of your journey towards wealth, independence, and franchise ownership. And remember, when working for the man gets old, you must do something bold. Thank you for listening.